You trusted. You trusted because you believed that silence was a sacred space. You trusted because you thought his words held the same purity as your devotion. And suddenly, you realized something was broken. Not because he spoke, but because he chose to be silent. His silence wasn't peace, it was a secret. It was the shadow of a truth hidden behind walls, until the moment the confession pierced the air and cut through your soul. And that was when you understood. Trust isn't only shattered by a visible act, it disintegrates in invisible layers, like dust that accumulates slowly until it suffocates. He knew the impact it would have. He knew that the revelation would burn like hot iron. And still he let time pass, as if the pain could somehow be managed by delay, as if distance were a form of anesthesia. But you realized it wasn't. Each second of silence was an additional hidden dagger. It wasn't just the confession, it was the time it was kept. You ask yourself why. Why would someone who received your devotion choose the betrayal of silence? Why would someone who touched your soul prefer to hide, until the very lie became a prison? And as the questions arise, you feel a hard truth. Betrayal doesn't begin when he confesses. It starts when he decides to be silent. And in that moment, your soul lays bare. Not by choice, but because it's been ripped apart. A void settles in. And you find yourself faced with something you can't even name. Is it anger? Is it sadness? Is it mourning? Or is it the mixture of all those emotions in a single stifled scream? His confession didn't just bring pain. It brought the realization that you were walking on a path that didn't exist, a road that seemed solid but crumbled like sand beneath your feet. And perhaps that's the heaviest weight of all. It's not just what he did. It's what you failed to see before. You trusted. And by trusting, you believed you were protected. But the truth is that no one is immune to the cut of silence. No one is shielded from the absence of words that conceal the essential. And now you take a deep breath, trying to reorganize the chaos. Because even when wounded, your heart seeks meaning. It seeks answers. It seeks direction. It's at this point that you realize something unsettling. Betrayal is not just about the other person. It is also about what you need to see within yourself. You begin to understand that your pain carries hidden messages, that your wound opens doors to revelations that wouldn't exist without the shock. And though this is hard to accept, it is in the abyss that your soul finds clarity. Perhaps you recall moments when his silence already felt strange, small signs that, out of love, you chose to ignore, expressions you noticed but didn't want to believe, whispers that your heart picked up on, but your mind chose to silence. Now all of this comes rushing back, as if every detail were a confirmation, as if life were telling you, you always knew. And this realization can be cruel, because it's not just the trust in the other that unravels. It's also the trust in yourself, the fear of not having noticed sooner. You look at yourself in the mirror and ask, how did I not see? How did I not feel it earlier? But maybe the answer is that you did see. You did notice. You just chose to believe in goodness. And that is not weakness. It is humanity. It must be stated clearly. Trusting was not a mistake. The mistake was never yours. The mistake was his. He broke something sacred. He turned silence into a weapon, and that cannot be justified. But you are still alive, and the fact that you are still here, breathing, even with your soul wide open, is a sign of strength. A strength that you may not recognize right now, but is already in motion within you. And here arises the question that echoes, what will you do with this pain? You can let it consume every bit of hope, or you can let it be the forge of a new perception. If this has happened to you, comment, I needed to hear this. What will you do with this pain? That question doesn't leave your mind. It's not simple. It's not just a rational choice. It's a confrontation between the part that wants to protect itself and the part that still wishes to trust. Because deep down, you know, it's not just about him. It's about you, about what this wound awakens in your heart, about how your soul rebuilds itself when everything seems to crumble. His confession opened something bigger than the pain of the moment. It opened a space of silence within you, and it's in that silence that life begins to whisper things you could not perceive before. You start to notice details, the weight of your breath, the sound of your own thoughts, the feeling of a heart that still beats even when it's wounded. Gradually you understand, the betrayal is not just a cut, it's also a mirror. It shows where you still didn't see yourself, and perhaps that's the hardest point to accept, because it hurts to acknowledge that pain also teaches. It hurts to admit that the wound brings revelations, But it's in this place that your strength grows. Not in denial, not in forced forgetfulness, but in the courage to look the truth in the eye. You don't need to deceive yourself. You don't need to pretend that everything is okay. Your soul doesn't want a disguise, it wants authenticity. And it's here that you begin to rebuild yourself. Not by erasing what happened, but by allowing each piece of your pain to reveal something hidden. He didn't realize how rare your trust was. He didn't see that your commitment was unique. And precisely because he didn't see, he lost. He lost something that will never come back. But you haven't lost yourself. Even if it seems like emptiness now, there is within you a flame that endures, a breath that insists, a movement that calls you not to stop. You realize that his silence was a prison, but your silence now can be liberation, because in your silence there is no lie. There is truth, there is presence, and that is the difference. He fell silent to hide. You can be silent to rediscover yourself, and in this distinction, your soul finds direction. Maybe you think, I don't want to trust anyone anymore. And I understand, because broken trust opens a hole that feels irreparable. But remember, trust is not a gift you hand out to everyone. It is an expression of your essence, and no one, not even him, can steal your essence. His betrayal doesn't define who you are. It doesn't define your ability to love. It doesn't define your courage to feel. What it defines is merely who he chose to be, and that choice belongs to him, not to you. You realize you can free yourself from this confusion by separating what is yours from what is his. The pain is yours, yes, but the guilt is not. The shame is not. The weight of the lie is not. You only carry that which belongs to your soul, and the rest, you let go. It's a process, it doesn't happen in an instant. But each time you take a deep breath and recognize the difference, something within you begins to heal. And the more it heals, the more you realize you weren't destroyed. You were transformed. His silence hurt you, but your silence now is revelation. It is perception, it is strength. And suddenly what seemed to be just the end reveals itself as the beginning of something new. You don't know yet what it is, but you feel it coming. Something in you awakens like a seed breaking through the earth after a long night. This awakening doesn't come with immediate clarity. It is born from the midst of darkness, as if your soul is still groping in a narrow corridor, but already sensing that there is an exit. You realize that the weight of the confession wasn't only about what he did, it was about everything that stayed hidden while you believed in another reality. It was about the illusion that suddenly shattered, and that shattering is not light. It is a deep tear, but it is precisely in the tear that light enters. You begin to realize that you were living a reflection, not the real thing. Trusted in a silence that was not peace. Trusted in a presence that was already distant. He knew. Deep down, he always knew. He knew that his hidden truth was a bomb waiting to explode. But he chose to hold on until he couldn't anymore, and you, unaware, carried the countdown within your heart. Every gesture from him was a number ticked away. Every glance was a subtle warning, and now looking back, everything makes sense. But it hurts to realize this. It hurts because it shows that your soul felt it before the confession, that your intuition was already shouting, but your hope was silent. You didn't want to believe the worst. You preferred to believe in love. And this choice, even if it led to pain, still reveals its beauty, because choosing love is never a weakness. And now, in the silence that remains, you understand. The betrayal was not the end of your light. It was merely the revelation of a shadow that never belonged to you. What belongs to you is different. It's the capacity to feel deeply, to trust even after being hurt, to give yourself completely without reservations. And this, as vulnerable as it may seem, is your greatest strength, because those who don't feel don't live, those who don't trust don't love, and those who don't love don't transform. He didn't realize this, didn't realize that your trust was rare, that your devotion was treasure. And it's precisely because he didn't see it that he lost. But you didn't lose, you learned, you grew, you awakened, and perhaps in this moment, the pain is still greater than any understanding. But, over time, it will be the understanding that fills the space, and the pain will gradually become just a memory. You look within and feel, something in me hasn't died. Something in me is still alive, and that something is what drives me now. The confession tore your soul apart, but the revelation opened your vision, and now you begin to see what you never would have seen without this shock. Life hasn't left you alone. It has given you signs. Signs that even amidst the pain guide you forward. And in this movement, you ask yourself, will I ever trust again? And the answer is yes. Not because it will be easy, but because trusting is part of who you are. To deny that would be to deny your own essence. You will not shut yourself off. You will grow stronger. You will not become hardened. You will deepen. And when someone worthy appears, you will notice your intuition will be sharper. Your heart will be more awake. Your perception will be more alive. This is the hidden gift within the pain. It's not a gift you requested, but it's what life has placed in your hands, and it's up to you to open it or not. Have you ever experienced something that transformed you even against your will? Forced transformations are the hardest to accept, because you didn't ask for it. You didn't choose it. You were thrown into the middle of them like someone pushed into deep waters without knowing how to swim. But amid this plunge, you realize something. You don't sink as you imagined. Even without strength, something within you floats. Something in you resists. And that's when you discover a hidden truth. Your soul is stronger than any betrayal. He tried to hide the truth, tried to bear the weight of silence, but nothing that is hidden lasts forever. Everything eventually comes to light. And when it did, it didn't destroy you. It hurt, yes. It wounded, yes. It tore your trust. But it didn't rip away your essence. Your essence is still here, breathing, observing, noticing. And the more you notice, the more you understand that there are forces that no one can steal. Broken trust can heal. Wounded love can reinvent itself. But your essence? That cannot be touched. He didn't realize this. Didn't realize that your vulnerability was sacred, that your trust was a gift that isn't asked for twice. And by not realizing, he lost. And now you walk, still with pain, still with scars, but you walk. And with each step you realize you are not the same. You no longer easily believe in appearances. You are no longer fooled by strange silences. Your perception is now clearer. Your intuition is now more alive. This doesn't mean you've lost the ability to trust. It simply means that now you trust with awareness. You trust with discernment. You trust knowing that trust is a choice, not an obligation. And at this point, the wound transforms into strength, because everything that tried to destroy you converts into wisdom. And maybe you still cry. Maybe you still remember the silence that hurt. But even in the crying, there's something different now. You cry, but you don't break. You remember, but you don't freeze. You realize that your pain is not an end. It is a portal to a self you are still discovering. And, as strange as it may seem, there is beauty in this. The beauty of seeing that even betrayal couldn't extinguish the light within you. If this realization has touched you at some point, share it with someone who needs to reflect on it. You are standing in front of an invisible mirror. It doesn't just show the tired face. It shows the exposed soul. It shows the scar that is beginning to form. And you notice something subtle. The scar is not ugly. It doesn't diminish your beauty. It merely reveals that you survived. Each mark tells a story, and your story is not one of destruction. It is one of survival. It is one of resilience. It is of a soul that refuses to be diminished by pain. He believed that silence would be protection, but silence turned into poison. And the poison didn't just affect you, it affected him too. Because those who betray destroy themselves more than they do others. He didn't realize this. He didn't see that every hidden lie was a chain around his own soul. And when the confession came out, what he thought was liberation was, in fact, revelation. Revelation of how trapped he already was within himself. But you don't have to carry that prison. What belongs to him stays with him. What belongs to you, you keep. And what doesn't belong, you let go. You start to understand that forgiving doesn't mean justifying. Forgiving doesn't mean forgetting. Forgiveness is simply giving back to others what never belonged to you. And in doing so, you become lighter. Lightness doesn't mean an absence of pain. It means that pain no longer defines your journey. You can feel it, but you don't have to carry it. You can remember, but you don't need to live shackled to the past. In this space of lightness, clarity emerges. You realize that the world hasn't ended. Your life isn't finished. Your heart can still beat in new ways. The betrayal was a painful chapter, but the book continues on, and you are the one writing the next lines. The most important thing is to recognize that truth, no matter how harsh, always sets you free. Silence conceals, but confession reveals. And revelation, even when painful, is always the start of a new journey. Now the question transforms. It shifts from, "Why did he do this to me?" to, What do I do with what happened? And this shift is powerful, because it redirects the focus from pain to possibility, from the wound to the lesson, from betrayal to reconstruction. You can't control his choices, but you can control yours, and that's where your freedom is reborn. He broke something, but he didn't break you, and that is the greatest revelation. Have you ever felt that moment when pain begins to turn into strength? There comes a moment when you simply breathe. You breathe deeply, and you realize you are alive. It's not just any breath, it's different. It's as if every cell in your body is shouting, "I survived." And that changes everything, because until then, you thought you had been destroyed. You believed nothing existed after that confession. But now as you breathe, you realize there is a you who walked through the fire and did not get consumed. There is a you who felt the weight of silence but did not lose yourself in it. There is a you who cried but remained standing. And this you is not smaller, it is bigger, more aware, more perceptive, stronger. You don't need to thank pain, but you can thank the strength that was born from it. And this strength is already noticeable in every thought, in every step, in every gesture. You know you can't go back. The trust that was broken will never be the same. The bond that was wounded won't be like it was before. But you also know that you're not condemned to emptiness. The future doesn't only carry repetition. It carries possibility. It carries new encounters. It carries new stories, and this time you won't get lost in the silence of the other. This time you will notice too soon. Your soul has now learned to distinguish peace from omission, truth from masks, love from convenience. This clarity is what protects you going forward, and at the same time, it's what restores your hope. Because it's not about living in suspicion, it's about living in awareness. Trust remains your essence, but now your trust is accompanied by consciousness. It's not blind surrender, it's lucid surrender. And this is the key that opens the doors to a new life. You haven't been destroyed, you've been transformed. And in the silence that once hurt, there is now space to listen to yourself, to listen to your truth, to listen to your inner voice. This is the greatest gift hidden within the confession, the chance to rediscover yourself. If this resonated with you, comment, "I needed to hear this." And if your soul felt this call, don't stop here. Because in the next video, I'm going to show you a side that almost no one has the courage to look at. Not just the pain of betrayal, but the silent origin that creates this cycle. And when you recognize this origin, nothing will ever be the same. This conversation doesn't end here. Come with me to the next video. Come with